Today on the Travel Magazine, join us as we visit the festival town of Bayreuth, Germany. But first, to the American Old West, where we'll journey through 5 states, retracing the travels of the famous American explorers, Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark set out on their westward journey on May the 14th, 1804. Hi, I'm Jake de Boer.
And I'm Mieke de Boer, and welcome to this edition of the Travel Magazine.
Join us today as we retrace their steps through braided rivers, arid plains, and glowing sunsets that are all part of this vast outdoor museum.
When Thomas Jefferson decided to send a group of men out to the west to explore this great vast of country, follow the Missouri River. That was part of their challenge, was to follow the Missouri River to its bounds, looking for a waterway to the Pacific Ocean.
Our Old West journey begins in Bismarck, North Dakota, where images of the American West start just across the Missouri River.
Fort Abraham Lincoln is a state park located just outside of Bismarck, North Dakota. And it's a historical state park in that it encompasses the former Fort Lincoln of Custer's time, and the 7th Cavalry was posted here. Lewis and Clark came through here in 1804 and again in 1806. They noted the existence of the Mandan village that was here, and they camped near here. They later met with the Mandan people, and that's where they spent the winter. They were the first winter tourists in North Dakota history that came and found that it was a nice place to stay.
I'm a tour guide, and I speak on my culture of the Mandan, a culture which is almost gone, you know. You have to learn to survive, so everything you see is taken from the environment. They were an agriculture group, so they were great gardeners. They put in everything you can see about, you know, squash, corn. And you'll see the rakes made from the environment, shoulder blades from the buffalo. The tourists are very interested in our culture. We have a lot to offer them because we had a mystical bond with nature and animals. We didn't worship them, but we looked to them as our brothers and sisters, and we learned from them.
Bismarck is really the gateway to the West. The great American novelist John Steinbeck said there are 1,000 places in America that claim this is where the West begins, but nowhere is this so true as on the Missouri River Bridge between Bismarck and North Dakota. We pride ourselves on our living history presentation. That is, you step back in time because we'll take you there.
Welcome to General George Armstrong Custer and Mrs. Elizabeth Cleft Bacon Custers Home. My name is Striker John Berkman, and I'm here to show you through the home.
Our tour guides are all uniformed soldiers or housekeepers who are in 1875. You can't get them out of that. If you ask them, why did Custer do what he did at the Little Bighorn? They'll say, I don't believe that the general has ever been to the Little Bighorn.
Did you arrive on the stage today? Was it on time? It never is it? Usually the right day, just the wrong week.
Anybody who knows the general knows his favorite tune.
We follow the Old West Trail down to South Dakota to one of the famous American landmarks.
Mount Rushmore, it's possible, of course, to see 4 presidents there. As a Lewis and Clark follower, the significant one would be Thomas Jefferson, because without Thomas Jefferson, there probably isn't a Lewis and Clark expedition. At Mount Rushmore, Jefferson is the man to focus on.
Well, Mount Rushmore is a national memorial located in southwestern South Dakota in the midst of the beautiful Black Hills, about 25 miles from the town of Rapid City, South Dakota. Mount Rushmore was conceived in the mid-1920s by the South Dakota state historian, the sculptor Gutzon Borglum, and several other influential South Dakotans as a monument to America, to freedom, to democracy, and to all the ideals that the American government stands for. The American presidents that are on Mount Rushmore, starting from the left, George Washington, then Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and finally Abraham Lincoln on the far right, this year probably will entertain about 2.6 million total visitors. Last year it was something just over 2.7 million. That's throughout the entire year. Our busiest times of the year, midsummer, during July and August, as many as 27,000 people a day come here. And so it's the most popular attraction in South Dakota and one of the most popular places in the United States. People find there are many other opportunities for scenic viewing, wildlife, hiking opportunities, and other recreation within the Black Hills. Custer State Park, Wind Cave National Park, Spearfish Canyon. It's an area 100 miles north and south and 50 miles east and west that's pretty well filled with good scenery and good wildlife and great recreational opportunities. So there's a lot to see and do in the Black Hills besides Mount Rushmore.
Just south of the South Dakota border in Nebraska is Fort Robinson State Park.
Fort Robinson State Park is an old military post built in 1874 and used by the Army till 1948. The park consists of the main building area plus 28,000 acres of land. Some of these structures date from 1887, and the other larger brick quarters date from after the turn of the century.
Cody was actually the first town site of Cody was right here on this flat where we are.
Yes.
Buffalo Bill came in here with some friends, and there was a man living at the hot spring the only person living here then, and they decided to lay out the town on this prairie right here, and that was 1895, and we've got a copy of that original map, and it shows right on there, it says by the surveyor, says we hereby name this town Cody City in honor of William F. Cody.
Cowboys and cowgirls from throughout the United States and Canada perform on stock furnished by the Z5 Rodeo Company. General Manager Ray Owen, that's the world famous Cody Night Rodeo tonight. And every night
What significance does Buffalo Bill have with the town of Cody?
Well, of course, he founded it and promoted it in many ways. And in fact, he was respected so much for that, of course, they started the Buffalo Bill Museum. It was built in 1927, where the Chamber of Commerce is now, that log building.
We'll be back with the travel magazine from Cody, Wyoming, right after this. so stick with us.
Well, this is called Old Trail Town. It's a collection of frontier buildings that date from 1879 to 1901. And we've collected these over the last 25 to 30 years from this region of northwest Wyoming. We've got some buildings that are quite unique. We've got one cabin from the hole in the wall that was used by Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Really?
Their companions. We've got another one that was built for Curley, the Crow Indian scout that was with Custer. He escaped just before the battle.
So what do you think of Cody, Wyoming, Meek?
I think this is real,
Oh, the real boardwalk.
you know, and this is the real old town. Do you think this is where they hanged the people in the olden days? You know, these movies that you
Yeah.
see?
Time on the horse and then who
I
knows?
don't know. Let's not find out.
I have to tell you, I did not realize it was this beautiful, that it was so large, so many ranches, cattle.
And you can go for miles and miles and miles and don't see a thing.
That's right. But there are state troopers everywhere. Did you notice that?
That's right.
Well, that was quite a drive from Cody, Wyoming to Yellowstone National Park, but the scenery is fantastic along the way, huh?
Yeah.
And here we are, finally, at Old Faithful, and I guess we'll go up there in a minute to see it erupt. So,
Jake,
yeah?
shall I take a picture of you?
Okay.
Smile. That's it, Old Faithful.
Cody, Wyoming, of course, is really a part of Yellowstone Park. And one of the members of the Lewis and Clark expedition, who was John Coulter, was the first man to discover Yellowstone Park and to visit the area of Cody, Wyoming. And John Coulter, when he went back and was telling stories of this place that we now call Yellowstone Park, and he reported that these paint pots that bubbled and the geysers, and people really didn't believe him. And it was later on that other people went into that area and confirmed what he had discovered.
Beautiful, eh?
You got it?
Yeah. Beautiful.
The last state on our Old West journey is Montana, nicknamed the Big Sky State.
Well, this morning we're going to take you down through what we call the Gates of the Rocky Mountains. I believe that if Meriwether Lewis was to reenact his trip of 1803, 04, and 05, he could come through this particular area and he would remember it. I think this is one of the few places that is true. This particular area is still just about the way it was when Meriwether Lewis came through it.
Pompey's Pillar is located in south central Montana, about 30 miles east of Billings along the Yellowstone River. And we get over 40,000 people a summer visit us here to view Captain Clark's signature on the rock behind me here. Captain Clark, when he was coming down the river, noticed this large rock standing by itself on the south side of the river. And he decided to put his name and date on the rock. Many periods after that time, early settlers through the 1800s. Your military people coming out here in the 1870s, the railroad coming in the 1880s, all of these people that used the Yellowstone River Valley in the 1800s, many of them put their signatures on a rock, just as Clark had.
We will be back with more of the Travel Magazine just after this, so stay with us.
Halfway between Munich and Berlin lies the festival town of Bayreuth in Bavaria, renowned not only for its breweries, but also for the incredible beauty that once inspired such well-known composers as Franz Liszt and his son-in-law, Richard Wagner. Every summer, Bayreuth hosts the Richard Wagner Festival. The trumpet fanfares announce the opening of the festival, and music lovers from all over the world gather in Bayreuth to enjoy not only the music, but the town itself. Gebrüder Meisels, am I pronouncing that okay?
That's right. Gebr or Gebrüder means brothers, so it's brothers Meisel, and one is my grandfather, the other one is his brother. Yes. And they founded the brewery in 1887. And my father kept on, and now my brother and myself are running it, and the next generation is on the way.
I look at my glass and it says Meisel's Weisse. Is that what they started brewing? Tell me the brewing history and how they started.
We have produced the Weizenbier since early 50s. Weizenbier is made out of wheat malt and barley malt. Yes. And then we have a bottle fermentation. That means it's just like champagne. The beer ferments in a bottle and that gives the CO2 gas.
What was the idea behind your museum?
The unique thing is that it's a complete actually working brewery.
How many people come here a year?
We have about 23,000 people almost every year.
What was it like to grow up in a town like this where Richard Wagner, you know, the festival is held every year? How does that affect the townspeople, and do you go to it yourself? Tell me a little bit about it.
Richard Wagner and this music is wonderful. We would really love to go more into and see one of the operas, but we can't really get a better deal in Bayreuth than anywhere else. Probably New York and other places, it's easier to get a ticket than in Bayreuth.
Tell me a little bit about Richard Wagner.
Well, he must have had enjoyed the beer, just like Jean Paul did, and that's why people came to Bayreuth, because they said they loved the beer and they enjoyed the beer.
With its festival halls, museums, and statues that line the streets, the Wagner legacy lives on in Bayreuth. With music being such an integral part of Bayreuth, Steingraber is still one of the most traditional piano builders in Europe. Tell me the Steingraber story.
Well, in 1852, Eduard Steingraber, the first Steingraber, he was the technician of Franz Liszt, the famous composer.
Yes.
He founded this company. Well, the strings on his piano broke, and so Eduard thought, well, we have to construct a new piano, grand piano, and then he started.
So today the company, does it sell only in Germany, or what happens? Where is your market for the pianos?
Well, in Germany and all over the world.
Gerhard here is working on a piano. Tell me what he's doing here and what his work is, for example.
Well, this is the action of a grand piano, of this grand piano. And he sets the hammers, as you can see, with all these little screws. He has to set all the hammers in one direction, exactly one direction, that they can hit the strings exactly the same way.
And how much time does it take to do what Gerhard is doing?
It takes about 50 hours.
50 hours?
50 hours in total.
And obviously we can see what happens here, but just tell me a little bit about the process, Simone.
Well, it's quite important that a piano is tuned regularly, about twice a year.
He does it with his ears?
Yeah.
Is he good?
Almost everybody does it with his ears in our company, yeah.
Is he the best?
Well, one of the best.
One of the best. How do you get the right note? Oh, I see a tuning fork. How do you, tell me about the tuning fork.
The tuning fork is for the first tone. I hear it, and so. Then it's the A, and then I...
Can I try that for a
Yes,
minute?
yes.
So why do you go on your knee?
Ah.
Can I not go like this?
It's...
You can do that as well. Well, that's it for this edition of the Travel Magazine. From Bayreuth in Bavaria, I'm Jake de Boer.
And I'm Mieke de Boer. Auf Wiedersehen.